Welcome to those who are joining us. Thanks so much for joining us. We're glad for you to be here. We are allowing folks to join on in, so we'll give it a couple minutes, but thank you so much for joining us. All right, everyone, we're going to get started. Thank you so much for joining us today here for our second town hall, Monday, May 1st, 5:30 to 6:30. My name is Adrianna. I use the pronoun she and her, and I get to work with this cool team, Boston Pride for the People, as president, and I'm happy to be here with you all today. Our aim today is to reiterate our mission and values and some of our focuses for our parade and festival, and to also present some new information to you about the work that we have going on, and also leave space and time for you to share any questions that you have using the Q&A feature. We've also received some questions that you all have sent ahead of time, so thank you all for that, and just thank you all for taking the time to be present here. Closed captions are enabled, so you are able to access that. And if you have any questions, please write in the chat and someone from our team will support you with that. And if there are any questions at all that you have or issues in accessing our program today, please also reach out in the chat for support. Thank you. So, would like to share our mission again, because that's what we ground ourselves in everything that we do at Boston Pride for the People. Our mission is to amplify the beauty, rich diversity, unique culture, and intersectionality of the LGBTQ+ community through empowerment, education, commemoration, and celebration. We empower through creating LGBTQ+ community and a culture of respectfully reaching across differences to support and love one another. We celebrate and honor the rich, diverse, creative, and fabulous culture of LGBTQ+ communities, and impart knowledge of LGBTQ+ history and a sense of pride among LGBTQ+ youth. We commemorate the Stonewall riots and memorialize the QT BIPOC activists at the forefront of the 20th century LGBTQ+ movement, and we educate on the presence and impacts of oppression and commit to disrupting and dismantling systems that cause harm to LGBTQ+ people, especially LGBTQ+ people who face multiple forms of marginalization. So I wanted to present some key priorities that our organization has. One is to organize a yearly Pride Parade and Festival in Boston that is anti-racist, inclusive, accessible, and centers community. And two is to embody our mission by supporting, uplifting, and amplifying events led by LGBTQ+ leaders, groups, and organizations during the Pride season and throughout the year in our city. So now on to more information about the Pride Parade and Festival on Saturday, June 10th, 2023. Before diving into those specifics, I wanted to share with you what our efforts have been thus far and are ongoing to ensure equity in the event that we are planning. We've had ongoing intentional outreach to LGBTQ+ groups and organizations about participating in the parade and festival, and we invite you all to inform LGBTQ+ groups and organizations about the parade and festival and encourage them to apply. We are offering scholarships for parade and festival participation to LGBTQ groups and organizations and LGBTQ+ and BIPOC-owned businesses for which the fee prevents ability to participate. So if you want to participate and the fee is preventing you from doing that, please, we encourage you to complete a registration for the festival and or parade and reach out to us at info@ BP4TP.org so that we can talk more about the scholarships that are available for participation. And we've also been having community meetings with specific communities within the LGBTQ plus community about needs around the Pride Parade and Festival. One example of this is our work with aging and older adults and disabled folks about their needs. We had an amazing meeting last week and a lot of great insight on the needs for our upcoming parade and festival. And we have a follow-up meeting next Tuesday, 5:30 to 6:30. And if you're interested in attending, please email communityengagement@bp4tp.org, and I'll be happy to connect you, tap you into our meeting. And we also, these efforts are ongoing. This is a journey. So we also invite more thoughts on how we can continue to be centering equity in the work that we do. So I'm going to share some information that if you've attended our previous town hall may sound familiar to you. And if this is your first time hearing it, then that's why we're going through it. So our purpose for the parade is to commemorate the brave LGBTQ plus people who risk their safety to advocate for the lives and humanity of LGBTQ plus people, to celebrate the richness and complexity of LGBTQ plus community, and to continue to advocate for equity and inclusion for LGBTQ plus people, especially those who face intersecting forms of oppression. Our parade is a sacred space for LGBTQ plus people, their families, and allies to have fun and spread joy. Our parade is community-centered and a non-commercial space. Who we encourage to participate, to apply and participate in this. These are also groups that we are intentionally reaching out to and really want to be involved. LGBTQ plus student groups and other educational community groups and nonprofits who support LGBTQ plus welfare, culture, and intersectional social justice advocacy, LGBTQ plus employee resource groups or affinity groups, politicians and their supporters, LGBTQ plus bars, clubs, and entertainment spaces, and individuals for which registration opens May 15th, so look out for that. If you've joined us in previous town halls, you may have heard that individual registration opened on May 1st. We have pushed that back, and we will be keeping communication going so that you are aware as soon as we go live for individual registration. We're really excited that we have an individual contingent this year. So our Pride Parade route, if you are familiar with the traditional route, it's very similar. It'll be shorter so that it's more accessible, and our contingents will also be set at capped at 75 people per contingent. The map to the right expresses where the parade begins on Boylston Street in Copley Square. It will go through the South End and via Clarendon and Tremont Street, and then return to Boylston Street via Berkeley and continue to the Boston Common at Charles Street, which is where our festival will be. So it will end at the Boston Common and not City Hall Plaza. And this will be all begin at 11. And just putting some QR codes and links here for folks to tap into. If you're interested in registering, registration is still open. You're welcome to scan these QR codes or visit this website. And please let us know if you have any questions about the parade at parade@bp4tp.org. And now going through the festival purpose is to create a community of support among LGBTQ plus individuals and families, organizations, small businesses, and ally corporations to uplift LGBTQ plus owned and POC owned businesses, and to advocate for the lives and humanity of LGBTQ plus people, to celebrate the richness and complexity of the LGBTQ plus community, and to continue to advocate for equity and inclusion for LGBTQ people, especially those who face intersecting forms of oppression, and to have fun and spread joy. So who do we encourage to participate? Nonprofit groups, community groups, small businesses that are owned by or primarily serve the LGBTQ plus or BIPOC community and or disabled communities, allied corporations who pledge to not donate or to support to anti-LGBTQ legislators or initiatives, and political organizations. Some details on the festival. We have a location at our Boston Common area from 12 to 6 p.m. We'll have speakers, musical artists, poets, drag performers, and other entertainers. We'll have special areas like our health zone, our LGBTQ plus and BIPOC business marketplace, affinity lounge, teen, family, aging, older adult accessible areas, and quiet areas. And our block party will be at City Hall Plaza, and it will be 21 plus. And we'll have attractions such as a DJ, circus performer. We'll have special areas like a beer garden, adult business marketplace, and a quiet area. So we also are still open for festival registration. So I encourage you to scan these QR codes. We will be recording this. I didn't say that in the beginning, but this is being recorded and it will also be shared on Facebook and YouTube. So you're welcome to pause to scan this, or you can visit bostonprideforthepeople.org/festival. So I wanted to give some updates about our committees. The last time we were together in town hall format, I introduced the committees, and I wanted to reintroduce the committees for those of you who may not have learned about them before, and also share an update or so about what they're currently working on. So our accessibility committee is responsible for ensuring our events are created with accessibility for everyone in the community as a central focus. And an update is that they're working with an architect now, the committee, to support planning and meeting of accessibility needs. Really excited about that work. And then our QT BIPOC programming committee is responsible for ensuring the needs of the QT BIPOC community in Boston are elevated and voices represented, heard, and celebrated. And some updates for this committee is that they're collaborating with other leaders, groups, and organizations in the QT BIPOC community in Boston on events this Pride season. A lot of great planning happening. Some things that are on deck are June 1st. We are participating in Outspoken Saturdays, moderated by Amanda Shea, collaborating with GBH at the Boston Public Library, along with Boston Leslie Gay Urban Foundation. On June 10th, we're collaborating with icon Kamar St. Morta and New England Father Kenyon Marciano for Kiki Ball, Rick and Morty Adventures on June 10th. So that's the night of Pride. It's going to be lit. And then on June 23rd, we're collaborating with the Latinx AOEA Wellness Center for their Latino XIA Pride Night at Club Cafe. And more information to come on a comedy show that we're also planning, along with a podcast that will be year-round. So on our community engagement committee, which is responsible for creating spaces where LGBTQ plus communities and allies can come together and interact, offer feedback, ask questions, and inform the structure, policies, and development of the Pride Parade and Festival in Boston. Right now, our committee is developing an LGBTQ plus community needs assessment survey to help inform the development of our new organization, Boston Pride for the People, upcoming prides and future pride, the upcoming Pride on June 10th and future prides to come. Our hope is this information learned from this survey can be shared to inform efforts across our city for LGBTQ plus communities. Our communications committee is responsible for the creation, planning, and execution of our digital messaging, press releases, and overall communication strategy. And some updates on their end is that we've just released social media checklist and community calendar, which I'll dive in some more about. So I encourage you all to check out our website, bostonprideforthepeople.org/social-media-toolkit. We have on the left, I know it's smaller, might be hard to see, but once you access it on the website, it'll be a lot larger. And if you need it to be in a different form, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to do that. We have a checklist that lists out different social sites such as Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and TikTok. Those are all the sites for which we are active and have material to be shared. So whichever platform you're on, I encourage you, if you would like to get the word out, to view this source that provides you with collateral to do that. And I've included an example to the right of our flyer and language to post along with it. I also want to mention our community calendar. We mentioned one of our 2 key priorities to really uplift the work, the wonderful work that's already being done in our city this Pride season and throughout the year. And so we've gone ahead and begun adding what we know is happening during this season. And we want to invite you all into that process to submit a form for different events that are going on. So I invite you to visit our website, and there are QR codes here as well if you'd like to scan that to be faster. But you could visit bostonprideforthepeople.org/community calendar. To see the calendar, what's there presently, that's going to be packed. So I invite you to also use that as a resource as you're planning what your Pride season will look like. There are a lot of great things going on, so many things. And if you'd like to submit, you can visit bostonprideforthepeople.org/submit-and-event. And the QR code for that is also here included. More on the committees. Our festival committee is responsible for planning and coordination of a wide range of activities for the festival. This includes community tables, lawn logistics, and event areas. And some updates here: if you have registered for the festival, we will be following up with the registrants by the end of next week about the status of your application. For our fundraising committee is responsible for ensuring our organization activities are sufficiently and ethically funded. And an update on that end, we're hoping to meet our goal for this year and consistently reviewing our budget to keep our costs low as possible, as we've been met with some unforeseen costs for stage, tents, and portable toilets. But we are really working towards that goal and right now are hoping to have enough to continue to build the infrastructure to have an organization that allows for this work to continue to be done in our city. Our parade committee is responsible for planning and coordinating our parade. And as was with the festival, if you have registered for the parade, you'll be informed by the end of next week about the status of your application. And for the entertainment committee, they're responsible for coordinating the stage entertainment for the Pride Festival. And thank you all for your submissions, your amazing, talented submissions for the festival. The call for entertainers is now closed, and we'll be announcing later this month the awesome, locally well-known talent, up-and-coming performers that will be at this year's event, and also more news on the headliner that will turn the crowd out. So how to get involved? Spread the word. We just shared information about our checklist that you can do to help get the word out. So we encourage you all to do that. And I want to go back to our call to really engage more LGBTQ groups and organizations. Please help us get that information to those groups. And if anyone is experiencing hardship or the fees are prohibitive from them participating, please let them know that they're encouraged to still submit an application and email info@BP4TP.org about participation and scholarship opportunities. Also, Day of volunteering opportunities. There's so many opportunities to volunteer Day of, which are presented on the screen. I'll read a couple. You can participate in committees, which I've mentioned of, which is before. You can set up, you can break down, you can support the staging area, you can support in managing the volunteer village or info booth area. You can support with accessibility or be an event runner. So a lot of opportunities. And if you're interested, you can scan this QR code to get to the application for volunteers, or you can go to bostonprideforthepeople.org/volunteer. If you're part of a larger group that's interested in volunteering, I invite you to inquire with us about larger group opportunities at info@bp4tp.org. Also, we encourage you all to continue to get the word out about donating or thinking about supporting us as sponsors. There's a lot that goes into not only having this event, but building out the infrastructure for an organization to be successful and supportive in carrying out the work of this event and our key priorities and uplifting the work happening in our city. So please do continue to get the word out. And if you have any questions about partnering with us, please feel free to reach out to Raina or Gary, and their information is on the screen. Raina, R-E-I-N-A, at BP4TP.org, or Gary at BP4TP.org. We also have the VR, the QR code for you here to scan. Another way for you to be involved is by asking questions. And I love that we've already gotten some questions in. Offer feedback. You might already have some ideas and thoughts on what we've raised here, and share your just general thoughts. We're just happy to have you here and a part of the process. So thank you. And I also want to uplift as we move into our program that our final town hall before Pride is May 22nd, which is so crazy. Like, we are almost a month out. I'm excited. So I just want to make sure that y'all are really plugged into our last town hall. We'll have a lot of fun updates on there, and you can scan this QR code, and we'll have information on our socials about this as well. So thank you. And I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm just going to take a moment to take a look at questions that have been received, and we'll respond to them. And thank you again for your questions. So I'm going to start reading them. My question is about accessibility at Pride. I was excited to see that you're offering quiet spaces for autistic people and other people with sensory sensitivities. I was wondering if you're offering comparable spaces to immunocompromised people. Many queer and trans people live with chronic illnesses, including long COVID. And I know it would feel much safer to us to attend Boston Pride if there were spaces where masks and social distancing was required. Thank you so much for your question. And I will follow with our response of, we are grateful that we can hold the entirety of our event outside, which of course is currently the safest option regarding COVID safety for everyone, but especially for immunocompromised folks in our community. We will have masks and hand sanitizer available for attendees as needed, and we encourage all attendees concerned with exposure to bring what they are most comfortable using for personal protection. Since we cannot guarantee masked or socially distant spaces at our events, we are planning on ensuring the parade and entertainment performances are live streamed to our social media sites. Stay tuned for more details. Thank you so much for your question. All right, next question. I heard that at the St. Patrick's Day Parade, the city of Boston parked snowplows at all cross streets along the parade route to prevent a crazy person from driving into the parade. I think the city should do that for Pride. Thanks so much for raising this. We're working closely with the city of Boston to ensure that we have considered all ways to make our events as safe as possible. We have included this feedback in our discussions with the city, and we'll be sure to address the parade safety and street access in our safety meetings. Thank you so much for your question. All righty. Can you say more of what non-commercial space means? Yes, Scott, thank you so much for that question. and I'll share my response, and I definitely want to open it up to anybody else on the Boston Pride for the People team that's on to share. But non-commercial space means to me a space that looks different from what I think I was seeing when I began attending prides, where I saw more corporations and businesses reflected in the parade than actual people within our LGBTQ plus community and folks who we want to uplift and center. And so non-commercial space is non-corporate, it's community, and it's the look and feel of how pride parades and marches really began. That's what we're aiming to restore. So non-commercial is community centered. Thanks so much for your question, and I hope that answers it. Happy to say more if it doesn't. Thank you all for your questions, and I'm holding as we await more questions. I invite your questions, thoughts, and reactions. Thanks so much, Scott. Glad that clarified. Thank you so much, Jenny, for your question. Does Boston Pride for the People have any criteria for sponsors this year? Will corporate sponsors be allowed, or will the parade be largely community groups, schools, activists, etc.? Awesome question, Jenny, and thanks so much for providing it. We do have criteria for vetting corporate sponsors, and I also want to direct you to our last town hall where we went through each of the criteria for corporate sponsors. What I will share here in summary is that we've created a criteria where we reference indices like the HRC index, and we assess whether corporations and businesses have donated to anti-LGBTQ or anti-abortion or racist laws and legislation. And if that's reflected there, then we are not engaging with them. So while we will see businesses a part of the contingents this year in the parade, we are aiming to center and amplify LGBTQ plus leaders, community groups, and organizations. Hope that answers your question, Jenny, and happy to say more if it doesn't. Thank you so much. Hanging on for you all if you have any additional questions that you'd like to share. Will there be a list of tables available ahead of the festival? Thanks so much for your question, Seb. There will be. We will have a platform and information that presents all the folks who are participating at the festival and where they will be located. And we'll also have this in print as well, too. How can businesses sign up for the marketplace? Thanks so much for your question, Carla. Folks who are interested in participating in the marketplace at our festival can visit bostonprideforthepeople.org/festival for registration information about that. And Emmett has asked, I'm curious why a mask-only space isn't feasible for immunocompromised members of the community. Can you please say more about this? Thanks so much for your question, Emmett. And I think for the biggest piece about this is I want to pause because I want to also tap in any other members of our team if you have any responses or reactions to this. But at this time, what we can do is encourage folks to wear a mask, but we cannot legally let folks know that masks aren't allowed in this outside public space. I want to invite others on our team, if you have any additional context or information to share about that, to share it about it. And I also welcome more discussion, Emmett, with you via email. I want to make sure that we pull thorough information to answer your question. So that's what I have to offer right now. And I'm also eager to continue the conversation with you, if you wouldn't mind. So if you're open to and have more questions beyond what I just shared, I invite you to share your email and would love to follow up with you about this. Invite more questions that folks may have. Really appreciate you all joining us.
Yeah, I just wanted to get more context in terms of what you feel that a safe space for immunocompromised people would look like. To be honest, I hadn't thought about that so clearly as the event is outdoors. And I assumed that anyone who was immunocompromised would probably be masking up, which would probably be the safest, because and forgive my ignorance if I'm missing the boat here, but I didn't think that it would make sense, because we can't force people to mask in a public space, to have a specific tent with enclosed air where we required masking. Like, is there some? So I just want to get clear context as to what we may be missing in terms of accommodations.
Thanks so much for raising that, Tanya. And I invite you, Emmett, or anyone who might have additional thoughts to share that in the Q&A. We welcome your thoughts on that. And I'd also like to pass it to Joe.
The open air, for certain, the open air is safer than an enclosed space in a tent for immunocompromised people. This year, our space is limited, but now that we're thinking about it, yeah, I was wondering also, I have the same question as Tanya. What were you conceptualizing? Like an outdoor space that's like reserved? Is that what you had in mind?
Thank you for asking those clarifying questions, Joe and Tanya. And we do have a suggestion that's come in as we're talking about this. Maybe caution tape can block off a section in the festival for immunocompromised persons instead of a tent. Thank you very much, Carla, for offering that. Any other thoughts on this topic or additional questions? Thank you so much for your question. Emmett, you said you're working closely with the Boston Police Department. How does that relationship work within the context of an anti-racist and LGBTQ+ event? Thank you for the response. Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for your questions. And this one is an important one. And how I see that we're working with the Boston Police Department in the context or in acknowledging our commitment to anti-racism and supporting our LGBTQ plus community is having a conversation and acknowledging the impact, the impact of historical unjustness that our community, our LGBTQ plus community and our BIPOC communities have experienced at the hands of unjust police. That acknowledgement is key. And that acknowledgement has to inform how we are kept safe. It is the police's job to keep us safe. And as Boston Pride for the People, something that we've raised in our conversations is that they understand and acknowledge where people's feelings and experiences of being in the presence of and being supported by police comes from, so that we can move forward. So I hope this answers your question, Emmett, but we are acknowledging history and present day, everyday experiences that happen. And we're committing to having conversations that prevent those experiences from happening at the Pride Parade and Festival. We want it to be about joy. We want it to be about respect, and we all want to be safe in that space. Great question. Any other questions or thoughts coming up for folks? Give it another minute or so for folks that might be still thinking and want to present a question or thought. So grateful to have you all here with us. We also don't mind crediting you back some of your time that you've given to spend with us this evening. Thank you so much for your question, Seb. On the Pride Parade 2023 details slide, there was a rainbow on some of the streets. Is that part of the parade route? Great question. That is a part of the staging areas and not the parade route. And I'm going to bring it back on the screen just so everyone knows what we're referring to. Thanks so much for this question of clarification. All righty. Great question. So these are the staging areas. So the areas where folks who are participating in the parade will set up and prepare to line up in their contingents for the parade. So that are what these different colors represent. And the color choices, our flag, our progressive pride flag. So that's the reason for the different colors, but they represent the staging area. And then where you see the lavender beginning, that's the actual route. Thanks so much for your question. I welcome other questions or thoughts, ideas. We'll give it another minute for folks to share additional questions or thoughts that you have. Thank you so much, Seb, for raising this. Seb has mentioned, I think the map on the slide might show a different turn point than the one on the website. Thank you for flagging this, and we'll take a look at that and ensure to fix any discrepancies that there might be. Thanks so much for raising that, Seb. Any other questions that folks have or thoughts that you'd like to offer in this space before we close out our town hall? All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today on this Monday, this May Day, first day of May. Our next town hall and last town hall before Pride will be Monday, May 22nd, 5:30 to 6:30. It will be recorded. So if you're unable to attend, you can still check it out on YouTube and Facebook. And I just want to thank you all for your time, your questions, your ideas, and look forward to continuing to engage with you all. Have a good night. Bye.